Welcome back to the Ed Show. Some disturbing new video of an arrest in Philadelphia has surfaced. It shows police kicking, punching, and possibly tasing a 22-year-old man on the ground.
I'm recording everything. Right here. Look how many times they beating him. Look. He down. Look how many times they beating him.
Here I come! You're dead!
Listen. Say, listen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cops on one man.
Now that is from April 4th. A statement released by the Philadelphia PD. Authorities say they learned the video just Wednesday. The Internal Affairs Bureau now reviewing the incident. Police also saying that suspect fought with officers and bit not one but two of them. The police statement also says the suspect was taken to the hospital for injuries that came from, quote, intentionally striking his own head against the protective shield in the police vehicle. Not everyone believing those are the source of the injuries. The arrest was for possession of crack cocaine. Tyreek Carroll there currently remains in jail, and police say some facts in the case remain to be investigated. It is fair at this point to note that parts of this case at least fit a pattern of other police brutality allegations around the nation. Incidents that would normally face little scrutiny or not even be known about get a second look because a cell phone video emerges. And then in some cities, we've seen police-citizen relations strained by the perception that a different set of rules operates for alleged police misconduct, with police and DAs effectively investigating themselves. That's been the story for a long time. But that is changing. Just this week, you may have seen this on the Ed Show, we interviewed a New York official announcing new independent investigations for police shootings across all of New York State. Now, our next guest is trying to push that approach nationally. Congressman Steve Cohen has a new bill advocating independent investigations of police-involved shootings for every state. Congressman Cohen joins us now. He's the top Democrat on the Judiciary Subcommittee covering civil justice issues. A good evening to you, and what would this bill do?
Ari, would take funds from the state DAs and its considerable funds from the JAG burn funds, which comes to about $260 million nationally each year. If they take 20% from them, if they don't set up a system of prosecutors that is fair and unbiased when there is police misconduct involved and an injury to a citizen. You know, the system cannot work where the DA, who has to work hand in glove with law enforcement, those are the witnesses for the DA in their cases, and oftentimes the investigators for the DA are retired law enforcement personnel. And if a DA indicts a local law enforcement person, there's a goodly likelihood that the local law enforcement cohorts are not going to like that, and they're not going to cooperate and work with the DA in the future on cases.
We've certainly seen that dynamic that you just described play out. And yet, covering these issues, I talk to a lot of folks in law enforcement who say their view is these kind of proposals, the state one I just mentioned in New York, and Ed Show viewers may remember we had that on this week, or your national proposal, they view it as an insinuation that the DAs are not up to the task of being fair-minded. They view it as a kind of an insult.
Well, I don't think it is. First of all, there's the appearance of impropriety. And in justice, like Caesar's wife, you need to be beyond the appearance of impropriety. So there's the appearance. The second thing is, I was a police legal advisor in Memphis, Tennessee. That was my first job out of law school. I know how this process works with policemen and DAs. They are all good people, or mostly good people, who try to do their jobs. But it's difficult when you work hand in glove with somebody, as the DA does with law enforcement, to do justice the way it should be, or to present a case the way it should be, because you're going to injure your relationship. And we've seen it in the past where police have done certain police strikes when DAs have taken action. That shouldn't even be the possibility of happening. It's a wrongful appearance, and it frees up the DA, and it also means law enforcement. It doesn't mean that the new prosecutor is definitely going to bring an indictment. They may be inclined to be pro-prosecution, too, because of where they work, but it won't be working with the same people who are their witnesses and live in their communities.
It won't be, to your point, it won't be the kind of personal relationships that people associate with a conflict of interest, even if someone wants to be fair-minded. I want to ask you about the money piece of this. You mentioned money. We were looking at this. JAG funding in Illinois was about $11.5 million last year. 20% of that, the type of cut that your bill would... 2.2. Right, would be about, 2.2. So Is that really enough money to change states' actions on the ground?
Well, hopefully it is, but it's the only hammer that we have on the federal side. I don't think we're going to see too much legislation on the state side because the DAs have such a strong group. Most of the DAs are elected, and politically they're very strong with the state legislatures, and I think they would oppose taking the power away, even though it would free them up of this appearance. And the police unions and the sheriff's unions also have strengths too. They like the cozy relationship they have now. Believe me, they're not concerned about having it look like the DAs aren't up to the task. They like the relationship as it exists. The fact that they question it tells you it needs to change.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And Governor Cuomo himself said that he ran into a lot of opposition from the DAs in his interview with Reverend Sharpton this week. While we have you, I want to ask you about some other big news today. Emerging now, the FBI saying that the gun that was used in that horrific mass murder in Charleston by Dylann Roof was obtained illegally. Your thoughts on that? And I know in your role on the committee, you have some gun regulation ideas as well.
Well, we need to tighten up. There are loopholes in gun laws that would allow people to purchase guns when they shouldn't. And even with this case, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but apparently information about a past criminal conviction or arrest was not given appropriately to the right source that would have stopped the sale of the gun.
Right.
Maybe there needs to be more time. Maybe there needs to be other issues, but we ought to put people first. And there have been too many people killed in this country by guns, and here's a situation where somebody was killed with a gun that was illegally possessed, and 9 people tragically lost their lives. This should cause the Congress to take action. I doubt it will, because the NRA has such a hold over most of the people in this Congress, particularly on the Republican side. But we need to think about what guns have caused in the loss of life. People have lost family members. People have lost their lives.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And a lot of people looking at this type of situation and saying, if something was broken, then let's fix it. Nobody, I think, can stand up in the country and say this was someone who should have had that gun in advance of those terrible deeds. Congressman Steve Cohen, thank you for joining us tonight.
You're welcome, Ari. Good to be with you.